Welcome back to the Block Party. My name is Seth Kushner. Braydon Coburn in the house again. How you doing?
Awesome, buddy. Great to be here.
Listen, before we introduce Bogo, he's making his third appearance on the Block Party.
Is that a record, by the way?
No, God, no. Listen,
who has the record?
I think Esposito's been on 4 times. I think Callie's been on 4 times. There's the well. We have to go to the well sometime. But you're doing great. We've spaced it out with you perfectly. It's been 1 per season.
Perfect. We can't get enough Bogo. There's
not. And I want to say, by the way, too, nobody ever knows this. This podcast is starting perfectly on time today, thanks to Bogo. I don't know if it's because he's a dad or he respects people's time, but normally we run about an hour late. So
usually it's both, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, but last week with Tony was like, he had some gripes. He was like, Bogo's making me come in early to skate. You know, it's all that whole like, dad, get up early. You're up early.
I'm always
right?
I've always been up early my whole life, and then obviously having kids, like. You guys know, it's like you gotta get the engine going in the morning, or else it's not gonna be good.
You don't want to wait around.
No. So,
are you trying to escape the house? Is that really just part of it in the morning?
No, I usually get the kids off to school and then come right here. But yeah, we're getting Tony seasoned for parenthood. I don't think he's anywhere close to that.
That's very scary.
Yeah,
Tony's just got to take care of himself.
Yeah, baby steps. We're working with baby steps.
How often is Tony trying to talk you into working out at 11? Because he said you're getting him for like the 8 or 9 a.m. skates.
Yeah, I mean, you know Tony. He's like he doesn't say much like that.
I got a great idea. So you got 4 kids.
Yeah.
And like maybe we just lend Tony a kid for like a couple of days, just a test run to see how he does.
He actually came over last week.
Sushi for the game?
No, so I went over his house for that, and then I had him over. I can't remember who we were playing, but it was a Friday. I think against the Panthers on last Friday, and I was like, Tony, like the kids have a baseball game at 5 from 5 to 6. You come here, and then we'll go back to my house after. It was like the baseball field was like right down the road from my house. So I was like, we'll go back there. We can have a couple beers and like order some food. And then he got the full effect of the kids because they gave the kids candy after the game.
Oh, no.
So the kids came in the house hot.
They were climbing walls.
Yeah, it was great though. He was he handled it very well.
Do they have like a nickname for Tony? Like, is it Uncle Tony or
they just call him Tony. They just call him Tony. Yeah.
I love it.
Like if he pops on the TV, like if I have I think like last night I was waiting for the game, so like Recharge was on the TV just like kind of in the background, and Tony popped up and they were all screaming at the top of their lungs because that was like the last person that they saw from the team, so they're all excited.
How great is it to have him to kind of rehab and work with? I mean, all joking aside, like he said, it's awesome to have you, throughout the the last couple of months, and then moving forward. How has it been for you? It's
been great. I mean, obviously anyone that's ever been around Tony knows he's such a good kid. He's very fun to be around. It's something that I've had a lot of surgeries in my career, and I've done a lot of rehabs alone, I guess, as far as being like the only player that's doing it. Obviously, you have a great support staff with trainers and strength coaches and stuff like that, but to do it with another player definitely makes the time pass by a little bit. I wouldn't say faster, but at least a little bit easier. So yeah, it's been great to have him, and he's, like you said, all joking aside, he's an animal. Like he works extremely hard. He pushes a lot of weight in the gym for a guy that's, I'm 225 pounds and he's keeping up with me. So
what's he benching? What's he doing in there? Squatting like 600?
Well, we both got shoulder surgery, so we're not really doing too much bench right now. But I'm just saying, from he's an animal. He's got a great engine. He's got a lot of tenacity, and you can see the way he plays, obviously. But he's like that in the gym too.
Bogo, you mentioned surgeries and injuries. I was just curious. Like, I know sometimes we share kind of like war stories or injury stories. Because I've had a fair share of mine. Like, what's the worst one? What's the hardest one that's been to come back from, or the most painful, or the one did you struggle with the most?
Well, I went through a period in my career where I kept getting hurt like for like 5 years in a row. I couldn't figure out my hips and my groins, and it got to a point where I really couldn't skate that well anymore, and I wasn't really sure what to do. I kept getting told that, it's just rest, rehab. It was kind of repeat over and over and over. And finally, I had to get some work done. I got, double hip, double groin, double core surgery, and then another groin surgery, all within a year and a half of each other. So from like a mental standpoint, that was probably the hardest. Yeah. And anytime you're coming back, obviously, from a lower body injury with a sport like this, I'd say that was probably the toughest year and a half of my career as far as like trying to come back from an injury. And that was essentially like right before I came down here the first time.
Right.
So that was there were some long days in there, some dark days, but really, you test yourself mentally, physically all the time, but you really get to know yourself in those moments. And I'm glad I went through. I wouldn't change a thing about any of that. Obviously, you want to be as healthy as possible, but I feel like those experiences that I had with those injuries and those surgeries, that's kind of shaped who I am now as a person and a player.
So I got a great story about Bogo. So he kind of mentioned he got healthy and he was back, and you were playing with Buffalo at the time, and you guys were here in Tampa playing. And me and Bogo have always had kind of maybe an invisible connection, but we were both Atlanta Thrashers.
Yep. First round draft picks. I mean, I've been waiting to bring that up. I wrote it down
so
right here.
I didn't know Bogo. I was traded before he came into Atlanta, but I always had a lot of mutual respect. I had a lot of respect for Bogo.
Third pick overall, by the way.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
A competitor. Yeah, 8th. Sorry.
It's pretty darn good, though.
I got you, Bogo. I got you, though.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. But Bogo was on the ice, and I just kind of I knew he had been through a lot with the hip surgeries and all that stuff. So it was kind of like between plays, and I was going out, and I went to Bogo. I was like, "Hey, man, it's so good to see you out here. Like, it's good to see you healthy." And Bogo was so nice. He was like, "Oh, thanks, Cobes. I really appreciate that, buddy." And as I was skating by, Gordo was going the other way. And as Gordo's going by, the competitor in Bogo goes, "Hey, Gordo, I'm going to tear your effing head off." And I just started laughing like crazy, because it just shows you the competitor that Bogo is. Like, he'd been out for a while, but he still had that fire in him. He's a competitive guy. He wants to win like no one else.
I vividly remember that, because Gordo was always a guy. So it's actually funny how it comes full circle, because like I remember, share the same respect from me to Kobe before we were teammates. Obviously, just the way he played. I had heard about him in Atlanta, heard what a great guy he was. So I always had that mutual respect for him whenever we shared the ice together. But yeah, Gordo just like got in my way as like we were talking, and it just like set me off, because he always set me off, right?
He almost said everything.
He always used to. We would always battle. We're both competitive guys. I love the way Gordo plays. I love how intense he is. I really respect players like that. But that brings the best out of me too, and that's when I'm at my best, is when I'm kind of on edge a little bit. But I remember that happened, and then Gordo took a run at me, and then I was wanting to go after Gordo, and then Kobe looked at me, I remember too, in between the benches, and you're like, "Bogo, he's pretty tough, right?" And I was like, "I don't give a shit. Like, I'm gonna get him. I don't like. You think I care?" Come full circle, I am now the owner of his house. I bought his house from him. So yeah, so it's just when he went to Seattle, I bought his house from him, and I came back the second time. And Gordo's a great guy, a lot of respect for him. Good teammate, good family man, good friend. He's awesome.
As defenseman, Gordo's kind of like that mosquito or that gnat. I love Gordo. Yeah. Gordo, no offense, but he just gets under your skin, whether it's in practice as a teammate or you're playing against him. He's just one of those guys that he just never shuts up, never keeps going, keeps coming back harder. You can knock him down. He's like back in your face.
Yeah, he has no quit in him, and obviously. Being an undersized forward, especially when he kind of broke into the league, that's the way that he needed to be.
Yeah.
And, it's great to see he hasn't lost that, right? Some guys make the NHL and then they try to change. He's kept that kind of that blue-collar mentality the whole way, so it's pretty cool.
Rat for life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Man, I miss Yanni. I wonder if we can get an extra $5 million on the salary cap and bring him back.
Yeah, I miss that guy too. He's the best.
Bogo, so here's something I wanted to ask you. This is the third time you've been on the block party. The first time was during the pandemic, right after I think you left Buffalo, and then I had you on the first episode last year. So now I'm feeling like we're kind of closer. I'm trying to get some more details. How did you get out of Buffalo? And because we talked about you wanted to, play for a winner. How'd you get out of Buffalo, and did you know that the Lightning were going to pick you up?
It's actually kind of a crazy story. So I can't remember the last time someone became a free agent in the middle of the season, but I was. And that was my first time ever being a free agent. So essentially things were going south in Buffalo for me for whatever reason. not going to get too much into those details, but essentially they wanted to send me down. They sent me down. I did not report to Rochester. That gave them authority to terminate my contract. I knew what I was doing. I still felt like I was an NHL player. It was just a very unique situation, and maybe playing for that particular organization that it just wasn't going to work out for me. So I knew I was going to be a free agent. And by the time I became a free agent, I think trade deadline was on a Sunday. I think I was supposed to report on a Friday. I think I got terminated. You get 24 hours to report, I think. So I think my contract got terminated. That would bring me to like mid-Saturday. So I basically had like Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then I think it was a 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock deadline or whatever. So I had basically 24 hours to talk to teams, and funny enough, when you're going through something like that, like you're not really sure what to expect, and you hear a lot of people chirping, saying, "Oh, he's done." Within 24 hours, I had like 12 or 13 teams call me and offer me contracts. So
take that, Twitter.
Yeah, so I was like, suck on that. So, but I didn't know that though. Like it was a really weird period for me because I was coming off all those injuries, and I wasn't sure if anyone wanted to take a chance on me. But I had some really good conversations with teams, and I had thought I made, and I'm not going to say who, but I had thought I made a decision. I had kind of come down to like 2 or 3 teams. One was kind of the leader in my eyes of where I fit in, and that was at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think I had till 3. And if it wasn't till 3, it was till 5, so this was at 3 o'clock. I had like 2 hours to kind of sit on it.
This is crazy because you got a whole family here. I mean,
Yeah,
people don't
so-
know. This is a lot.
So I'm like, okay, like I think I made my decision. My agent was like, okay, just hang on. We got a little bit of time here. Just sit on it. I know you're excited to get things going. And then like an hour later, my agent calls me and is like, Tampa wants to talk to you. And I was like, wow. I mean, I had known Stammer from the draft. I had played against him for a while. Kevin Shattenkirk I had known. McDonough I had known. So I knew a few guys, and I kind of followed them a little bit. I liked the way that Tampa played. Obviously, they did the Global Series. Tampa
Oh, yeah, that's right.
kicked the shit out of Buffalo. So that was fresh in my mind. And the way that it happened, I liked the way you guys played. And I was like, that's probably the best team that's ever called me and asked me to play for them. So I was like, can't really pass that up. So anyways, I talked to Coop, I talked to Julian. It was a pretty easy sell for me. I had known Derek Lalonde from back home, so I talked to him a little bit. And it kind of came together pretty quick. And then all of a sudden I was like, make the decision, tell my agent calls Julian, paperwork gets done. And then like 10 minutes later, it's like, I'm talking to like, Breezeman or Bellick or something like that. And they're like booking flights to come down. And I'm like, whoa, this is like all within. So I had, I think I caught a flight either that night or super early in the morning. I think it might've been that night. And so then I got down here I came down alone, and then my family came down shortly after. So
It's like the ultimate switcheroo is like going from what was at the time Buffalo, a dumpster fire, to Stanley Cup champion contenders, right?
Yeah, and I fit the bill a little bit as far as like I had a lot to prove. I had a kind of a fire under me, and so did the group here. Obviously, the year before was the Columbus where they got swept. So there was a lot of fires that were lit under guys. And I think you signed, Shattenkirk coming from the Rangers. He had something to prove, and then they go out and get Goody and Colsey.
Yeah.
Like they had something to prove. So it was, and then the guys that were all here obviously had a lot to prove from the year before. So it was kind of a perfect fit.
Was it a welcomed addition, or were you worried that this was going to cut into like some of your playing time?
No, I think we needed like kind of what Bogle brought to the table. He was right-handed defenseman, played tough, good skater, made plays. He was, and we know as well as anyone, like you need to have depth, and to be able to make a good run, you needed to have guys that were going to contribute all down the lineup. And Bogle was a guy that was like kind of like a perfect pickup for us, just because, Breezeman, Julian
JBB, yeah.
JBB, Breezeman's making moves.
He might be. He
Julian
might be the puppet master.
he was aggressive. He was aggressive at the deadline, and making moves like that for you, Bogo, like last minute, and those other guys, like it was a message to everybody in the room. Like, it's a win now. We got to pull up our socks. Like, it's very clear. Management believes in us. Now it's up to us to go out there and do what we need to do.
And I think if you look too at that, like the first cup, like I think we used like 8 or 9 defensemen all throughout the playoffs. Like, everyone contributed in some way, shape, or form, which was
and Coop was he loved doing that 11 and 7, 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. Mm-hmm. It was and for whatever reason we had chemistry as a group. Sometimes it's tough when you run 7 defensemen to get chemistry with the guys because your regular partners switching all the time. But I think it was a credit to the guys that played on defense there that. We had 7 guys that understood their role and what they were doing, and we had good chemistry as a core.
Would Bogo launch himself off the bench like you showed me how Victor Hedman would, or how would he hop into the game?
Bogo, I was telling them the other day how basically Victor launches off the bench when he jumps the boards. And I said I couldn't do that just because my hips never opened up like that. But I think me and you were kind of like gate guys.
Yeah,
right?
we're door guys. Yeah, my hips don't work like that anymore. Once I'm out there, I'm good. But just to get out, you gotta.
Well, I was just trying to lift my leg over. I was like, "How do you guys do this?" And he's like, "Let me show you how Hedman does it."
The worst though is not so much the guys that go that way. It's the guys that change and they go foot forward over the bench. Yeah, that freaks me out.
Blades coming right at you.
Right at you. I'm like, all right, just hop. Sit up and then go over.
Bogo, talk to me about taking on Nashville with Patty Maroon. There was a lot of video that came out. People were sending it to me. Patty was pouring a beer on his head. You guys were doing, what was it, wagon wheel? I mean,
was this for the outdoor game last year?
Yeah. Talk to me about how much fun you had, pre and post game. And you looked very natural in your cowboy gear. Was that something that you had owned before?
I mean, I kind of grew up in a very remote area of New York, so I guess the jean on jean is not uncommon there.
the
Canadian tuxedo. Canada's finest. But we had fun. Just in general, we have a fun group of guys, a lot of outgoing guys. Anytime you get a chance to go and have an experience like that, I wasn't here for the Sweden series, but just going to the bubble in Toronto and just a fun group of guys that can have kind of fun anywhere. And whenever, obviously, you throw Nashville in there, it's a lot of country music fans on our team, a lot of guys that have outgoing personalities. And I guess me and Patty were the ones just hop up on camera, I guess. But I had fun.
Not afraid. That's for sure.
It's confidence. It's all. You got to get up there with a halfway decent stage presence and just go for it.
And the whole Maroon family was there, right? I feel his mom said that she was hanging out the whole time.
Yeah, everyone's family was there. It was great. That's the beauty of playing an event like that. You fly in, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, in-laws, whatever you have, your kids. My kids were there, not at the bar that night, thank God, but give them a few more years.
Not like when we were kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Was Vazzy not a fan of dressing up like a cowboy, just from some of the photos I've seen?
The Gucci cowboy? Or?
Yeah, is that what he was?
Vazzy's got a very unique style. He is from a different country than, if Vazzy saw where I was from, he'd probably be his eyes would be like, whoa, because it's very remote, but Vassy's got very good style for Vassy. I couldn't rock what he wears. He looks amazing in it. And vice versa. He probably wouldn't look very good in what I wear.
So to piggyback a little bit off what you said, you mentioned a little bit about where you're from, and it's a rural area, maybe a little bit of redneck, but so I was told I got to ask you about a story. So it's you went and you'd bought some firearms and you were going to get a gun safe. And I really want to hear the story.
I had a feeling this was going to be asked.
I got to hear it because I've been dying to hear it.
So before I tell this story, very nice people. Okay, so this is not.
Oh boy,
this is not.
We got to set the stage.
I'm so excited because I don't know the story.
This is not to make fun of anyone. This is just I enjoy having a good laugh, and it's something that I found myself in the middle of this situation being like, this is like something out of a movie. So this is what happens. I like the outdoors. I like to hunt. I like to fish. I like to do all that stuff. So I have most of my guns up north with my parents and a gun safe up there. Did not feel like shipping all my guns down, so I ended up buying a few new guns down here. And, you know, having 4 little kids, obviously, you want a gun safe, make sure everything's safe at home. And
Yeah, you can buy guns at 7-Eleven in Florida.
yeah.
It's very easy.
I mean, you can buy guns up in upstate New York like that too. But so, anyways, I buy a gun safe, be safe, whatever. And it's like a 600-pound gun safe.
Okay.
So, and you know, some companies, they don't want to carry something that heavy up. So I'm having trouble finding a company that'll get my gun safe up. I think I had like 18 or 20 steps from my first floor to the second floor. So I'm calling around different companies, blah, 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 blah. Nothing's happening, okay? I'm like, okay. So finally, I text my buddy who also has gun safes and guns, and I'm like, how did you get yours upstairs? Like, you got a guy for me? He's like, I got a guy for you. Just buckle up. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, perfect. So I'm texting this guy, hey, blah, 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 this is Zach Bogosian. I bought a gun safe. I would like, for you to move it from Bass Pro Shop to my house up in my upstairs. So he texts back, great guy, like, yeah, no worries, we'll get that done for you 100%. Like, just let me know time and place and we'll figure it out. So we settle. The reason why I remember this is we settle on like a Tuesday because we were here. This is like before training camp. A Tuesday at like 12:30 at Bass Pro, like right down the road. I kind of figured my day was gonna like start in the morning and finish around like noon. So I'd like shower up, be ready to go like over at 12:30. As you can tell, I like my times, right? Yeah. So just how we started on time. So at like 12 o'clock, I get in the change room and I'm like, look at my phone and I had like 4 missed calls from him. I'm like, oh no, like maybe he can't make it work. Maybe it's whatever. So I call him back, and mind you, I haven't talked to him on the phone. I've just been texting. I've just been texting with him. So I don't know what he sounds like. And I just remember my buddy saying like, buckle up.
This warning's coming back to you.
Yeah. So I'll try to do like my best impression of like what a true Florida redneck sounds like. But anyway, I call him and I'm like, hey, this is Zach. And he's like, Mr. Zach, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. And he's like, yeah, we're just out back at Bass Pro here. I need your receipt. Like, I can't get in. I'm like, oh, like, sorry, like, I'll be right over. And he goes, not to change the subject or nothing, but are you one of them Lightning players? And I'm like, yes, sir, I am. Yeah. He goes, that is so cool. I've been texting a Lightning player. He's an awesome guy, right? He's like loving it, like pumped, right? So he's like, all right, well, you come around back. We'll get you dolled up real nice. Like, just meet me in the back. We'll be right there. I'm like, okay. So I leave here, Brandon. I go to Bass Pro. I go around the back, and I'm like turning around the back, and there's like 6 Bass Pro workers, him and 2 of his workers, and they're all staring at me like. So I am like, like, listen, I love a good conversation. But when like the attention is all on you, and you're like,
welcome committee. You're like.
So I'm like, oh boy, and I have my window down, and the guy that I'm talking to or was talking to on the phone he's on the phone. Who I find out later is his wife, but he's on the phone and he screams, there he is! There he is! Like I'm like some sort of zoo animal, right? I'm like, oh no. So I pull up, throw my car in park, take a deep breath. I'm like, here we go. Game on. Walk up, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm Zach. I'm like shaking everyone's hands, right? How you doing? I'm Zach. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, he's still on the phone, and he's like, you just won me a $2 bet. And I was like, I feel like I'm in a movie scene, right? And he's like,
were you regretting
I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. Me and my wife, we had a $2 bet what type of vehicle you were driving. And I said, buying a gun safe like this, you were driving a 4-wheel pickup truck. And I won my $2. And I'm like, oh, awesome. So then I'm like, okay, like, whatever. I'm like talking to the guys, and I finally get my receipt, and they like go, like the workers go in the back, and they tend to like bring it out. So I'm standing there, and like it kind of gets like not awkward, but it gets like quiet, right? Like I think I had run out of things to say, they had run out of things to say, so like we're kind of just like standing there. It's like me and like 4 other guys
twiddling thumbs.
Yeah, we're like, okay. And all of a sudden he's still on the phone and he screams. This is where I lost it. I started dying laughing when he said this. He goes, yeah. Honey, it's him. It's really him. He's got the beard and all, just like TV. And when he said that, I lost it. And I was like, this guy's awesome. Like he's so excited. And it just goes to show you, like, you know, people think of like Tampa not being like a hockey town, but obviously it is now. But just like the people that are here, like even though they might not watch the Lightning all the time, they know who they are, and they like respect you, and they're always super, super friendly. But that was just like a funny like little interaction that I had with that guy, and it was just like, but he had no clue at the start who I was, and I'm sure like once he pieced like things together, because I'm not like a stammer or a heady, like I'm not the face of the franchise, so which I'm totally okay with. I love kind of just being anonymous, like blending in. But it was like a funny little like story that I guess Breezeman probably told you to ask, but yeah, it was.
It sounded like the guy's wife was like just as big a fan as he was.
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
right?
They were pumped up, and like you know, like when someone's like super excited to meet you and like pumped up, like your initial reaction is like it's not awkward, but you're like, yeah, hey, like you know, like I don't know if they expected me to be like, yeah, I'm him, like you know, like it's like, you're just kind of like, yeah,
I'm in the back alley at Bass Pro Shop. Yeah! Here we go.
I was like, I'm him. Yeah, I am him. Yeah. So
how did he get it? How did he get the 600-pound guns? Did he find?
Oh, he had some help with them, and they did an amazing job. Super respectful to like my home, and like my mother-in-law was there, and she's like straight from Italy, and she was like cooking, like trying to feed them and like give them like espresso. It was the fun. They were probably like saw my house. They're probably like, these people are nuts, just because like I had kids running around everywhere. My mother-in-law's in the kitchen slinging meatballs and everything, chicken parm, and I was like, oh man.
Was it like, who's your neighbors?
Yeah. So it was just a funny little experience that I had just find the gun safe.
Do you guys text still at all, or has he cut back on that?
No, he was super like
He's
respectful.
coming over for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he's actually here right now.
He's coming around the corner. But no, he was super respectful. I had signed a few things for. I think he had a daughter and maybe a nephew or something like that. I signed a couple things for him, so it was a funny little experience.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You have any 600-pound gun safe stories at all, Kobe, or is that just one in a million?
I carried them up myself. Actually.
Yeah, he would. I had shoulder surgery. I would have. I got shoulder surgery. I can't do that. So
when did you suffer the injury? I know that guys don't like talking about this a lot, especially during the year. Sorelli gave us all the details on his.
Mine was just more of like overtime thing. I think just the wear and tear of the seasons over, obviously deep cup run, and then I left for a year, then came back another. It's just over time. I think that you play a certain way. Like Kobe had played very, very similar to me. Like you're a physical guy. It's just over time it just kind of wore down. And once they went in there, doctor was like, oh yeah, you're messed up.
And once you pick up kind of like a one little injury, and Bogo's the kind of guy that he's not gonna say, hey, I can't go. He's always ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then it gets to the point where you end up on the surgery table. The doctor's cutting you open.
And that's one thing I think is a big misconception too. I think in pro sports is like you see guys get surgery after surgery after surgery, and it's like the reason why they're getting surgery most of the times is because they were like trying to gut it out, like overcompensating, trying to like do their best while they're injured, and then it became so bad that you needed surgery.
You're kicking the can down the road, and eventually you're going to pay the piper.
Yeah, so that's
not me. I have some sort of weird ant bite on my foot, and I think I would be out for 2 weeks now if I had that. So there's no way I'd be able to get out on the ice. Yeah. When I talked to Bogo the first time, he was very anti-social media, no Instagram, nothing, and now he's like the king of Instagram.
I wouldn't say I'm the king unless you like barbecue pictures.
You're getting there. You're getting there. It's a lot of meat, but I did want to bring up something that I didn't know was important to you. You gave a shout out to the LA Kings last night because they had what, Armenian Heritage Night.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that you're Armenian.
Yeah, the one and only. I'm the first and only Armenian hockey player ever. So.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not joking with that. Yeah.
Because I know Belly likes to tell people he's the 9th French player ever to play in the NHL.
So my dad's side is Armenian. The Kings they're a great organization for the Armenian heritage. It seems like every year, dating back to Atlanta, Winnipeg, Buffalo, and now here, anytime we played against them, they would make that the night of Armenian Heritage Night. So I'm not sure the turnout what it was like last night, but there was times for a few years there that I'd see like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 Armenians in the stands with flags, and
wow.
LA has a huge Armenian population, so it's always fun to kind of go there, and that warm up is usually one of the more fun ones for me. Just throwing pucks to little Armenian kids that I know look up to me. Just having the Armenian last name, something for them to look up to, I guess. Yeah.
So you mentioned your barbecue, your Instagram.
Yeah.
So Seth, I got to tell a story about Bogo. And mind you, Bogo's the kind of guy, he's like a glue guy. He's always keeping it light. He loves pranks. So it was at McDonough's house. So McDonough was having a barbecue, and Bogo was going to be the pit master. He was going to cook ribs and brisket for everybody. So we go to Mac's. And you and Mac were living together or something like that. I think all the families were kind of gone.
Yeah, our family stayed back in Minnesota.
It was before we went to the bubble, right?
Yeah, so me and Mac stayed back, yeah.
So a couple of us guys were going over to the Mac's house for a barbecue. So walk into Mac's house, and there's Bogo at the barbecue in a thong, in a man hammock, and he's just smile cheek to cheek, and he's just sitting there like, "Hey boys, ready for my ribs?" It was hilarious,
flipping ribs in a speedo.
Yeah, it was in a speedo.
Yeah, I like to make guys laugh. It's I'm very.
I've seen you probably in a Speedo more times than I'd like to admit, but
is that your go-to, Bogo, the Speedo, to get a good laugh out of everybody?
Yeah, I see every vacation I go on, I pack one at least. I have two. I have one American flag one and one that has a silverback gorilla on it too. It's hilarious.
What a collection!
Yeah, but it's like no one knows when it's coming. So I'll be on vacation and I'll put my Speedo on first and then put my swim trunks over top. So you leave the resort in the morning, you're at the beach all day, and I bought all this random 5 hours into you're on vacation, you have a couple beers with your buddies, then I'll wait till no one's paying attention, and I'll just take my swim trunks off and just walk towards the water, and they're like, "What?"
This is incredible. Yeah. So how long did you keep the Speedo on? Until you were done cooking, or all night? You rock it all night at a party, or eventually you put pants back on?
Yeah, I don't even sometimes it just stays. Sometimes it comes off.
Yeah, I gotta paint a picture.
Remember Max that one? Oh, never mind. We can't talk about that.
Sometimes I go through my photo roll and I'm like, delete.
How did we go from Armenian Heritage Night to this? This is no way to represent the Armenian community.
That's what Bogo brings out of people. It's very comfortable.
Yeah. I really don't care what everyone thinks of me. I love a good laugh.
And to paint a picture of Bogo in a Speedo, he's a jack dude with all these tattoos, and then part caveman, and then a Speedo. It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, listen. Great. Did you stay up the Lightning on the West Coast last night? I know you're a dad. Did you stay up?
No. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I did. Okay. I was going to. I think I fell asleep at 9:30. I had the TV on the channel. And then I woke up and there was 10 minutes to go in the first period, and I think I one eye open, looked at it, and then I passed out again. So 4 kids is exhausting, man.
Listen, I hear you.
Yeah, sun up to sun down, it's crazy.
What are you watching with the kids these days? I always like to check in and find out Disney Plus or what on YouTube. What's driving you crazy?
Well, I mean, I'm sure every other kid, Coco Melon's big in my house.
Sure. Yonder Blue.
I'm more into my son's show. I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and my youngest is a boy, but he's 5 months, so he's not watching anything. But the girl, my oldest, likes watching dancing videos and stuff like that, princess stuff. My younger daughter, she likes the Coco Melon-ish, whatever. But my son is he's into Blaze, and it's like a monster truck, Dino Ranch. It's these cowboys that ride dinosaurs. It's hilarious. A little more guy stuff. So I sit there with him and watch, and it's funny. But I can only take so much of
It's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
My kids are a little bit older than yours, but
Yeah.
like in our house, it's The Masked Singer, which I'm just like,
What the
oh,
heck?
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But one of them that's not bad is that Lego Masters. Have you ever watched that one?
No, I
That's
haven't,
really
no.
good. They go in and they like give them different projects and they got to build all this
Yeah.
stuff with Lego. It's a little bit better than The Masked Singer.
Yeah, I guess my oldest, she started to watch like baking shows, which is like a little more tolerable.
Yeah.
It's like Nailed It, and it's like basically like, I think it's like they like screw up so bad that it's like
It's
funny.
people that aren't professional that have to do like professional things.
Yeah, so
It turned out like a disaster.
You guys are just at different parts. Like he's watching, bad TV shows with his kids, and you're hauling your kids around South Carolina for hockey tournaments on the weekend.
But he's like, at least me and my wife, we got 2. We got 1 and 1. You guys are like outnumbered.
Oh
by-
yeah, me and my
4.
wife were talking the other day. I was like, when did we become like a Sunday to Sunday family? Like we're doing something every day of the week, different sports. Got like hockey, soccer, baseball, dance. I feel like I'm forgetting something else, but they're in all of it, so we're kind of all over everywhere.
Makes sense
so.
though. Like your family is so athletic. Like your dad played college football
Yeah,
at Syracuse.
yeah.
Your wife was a professional soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Your brothers, great hockey players in their own right.
Yeah, so my dad played football at Syracuse. My uncle played football at West Point. Somehow I didn't play football.
But you could. You kind of like.
I always give my dad crap because like he never wanted me to play football growing up because he's like he had like 9 knee surgeries and he was a good player, and he was a safety at Syracuse, but. He's like, I didn't want you to get injured. I'm like, Dad, I've had like 11 surgeries playing hockey. So like, that argument's over. Like, I've gotten more surgeries than you now. So like,
What would you have played? What position? And would a safety yourself?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think I mean, those guys, I'm definitely not tall enough to be a tight end. I'm probably not heavy enough to be like a linebacker. I don't know. Maybe like a slot receiver or something.
Oh boy, the next Wes Welker here. He's got right next.
I don't know.
to
It
him.
was those guys, and I'm buddies with some of those guys, and like even like I'm really really close with Blaine Gabbert, and like he's like 6'5", like 240, 245. Like he's just a massive human being, and like I'm 6'3", 220, 225, and like I feel tiny next to him.
Yeah.
They're huge.
But I feel like we could have like if you started early, you could have bulked up to be a linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of I see you as like a linebacker.
Yeah,
for some reason.
I'm sure I would love the contact for sure. So maybe linebacker.
It's not too late with the Buccaneers. I think they're 3-4 right now. I mean, we might be able to get a tryout here while Bogo's
they'll figure it out.
rehabbing.
What would you be, Seth? I'm just trying to decide what you'd be
I'd
here.
be a pulling guard here if I take.
I got a position. Well, you could hold the field goal kickers. You just hold
Listen, long snappers get paid. The guys that hold the ball get paid, and it's a high pressure job when the game's on the line.
Laces out.
You need those guys. You need those guys.
Laces out, Dan. What a movie.
Ace Ventura.
Yeah, love that.
You only notice when those guys screw up. So listen, Bogo, 3rd appearance. You killed it. They're getting better each time. Kobe, I don't know if I complimented you. You did a great job on the radio. I meant to start off by saying that. I don't know if I ever got it in there, but you did the game with Mish a few days. I know it's hard for you to take compliments, but you were great, man.
I'm not surprised by that because he's a great talker, very knowledgeable guy. So it's great.
I had fun. I like being able to watch the game and then tell people what I'm seeing. So that was a fun part of it.
People love you. They're loving you on here. They're loving seeing you. Like they love seeing a Kobe post-playing career. It's great. You're a media superstar.
Yeah, I was away from it for a long time, and now I'm just like trying to burn my flame as fast as I can. Get people really sick of me really quick.
Torching yourself right away.
Yeah, I'm burning at both ends.
Love it. I love it.
Good thing
You're doing a great job.
There's 3 people by the dumpster waiting for your autograph right outside. So, Bogo, thank you. Thanks, Bogo.
Thank you.